Hey, my name is Jack with another build for the 3.26 Secrets of the Atlas League for Path of Exile 1. This time with a Deadeye Lightning Arrow build. Pretty straightforward. We'll be using Vol Lightning Arrow specifically. Lightning Arrow converts 50% of physical damage to converted lightning, and it gives shocked enemies dealing 300% more damage, so we pretty much always shock. We'll be using this together with Voltaxic Rift, which converts all of our lightning damage to chaos damage, makes our chaos damage shock, gives us 40% to maximum effect of shock, and gives us an additional 300% shock enemies as though dealing 300% more damage, right? We'll be using this together with Abhorrent Integration as we do chaos damage, and thus Withered is really good as it increases our damage, and we'll be also using Lion's Eyefall for some extra crit. We are a crit build. So pretty straightforward. Deadeye bar shot is really good. So the further away the enemy is, the more crit we will do and the more damage they will take, together with endless munitions, which is really nice as this gives us additional arrows for lightning arrow, which makes clear better for some spread without needing to use like multiple projectiles and stuff like that. We'll be using Tailwind, which gives us action speed, so faster movement speed, attack speed, and stuff like that. It also gives us Gale Force, which will be going for Windward. This is a brand of our EHP. As long as we have maximum amount of Gale Forces, we have a ton of physical max hit, and we'll take less damage taken per Gale Force, which is 10 maximum stacks, so 40% less damage taken at maximum. Very good. This tree is very straightforward. So normal ranger stuff, we will go over here and take Charisma, which is the best reservation node for 16%, and go down here, take these damage nodes. Aspect of the Eagle gives accuracy, attack speed, and damage. This Prime Spirit is very important actually, as this build is tied on attributes, and on this entire ranger side of the tree, together with Thieves Craft and Prowess, this is by far the only node that gives strength and intelligence, which we need. Going down here, we will have spell suppression, so we can pretty much easily hit 100% spell suppression on the ranger side of the tree. Go down here, take more, increase maximum life, spell suppression. We need this accuracy mastery together with this mastery, and this accuracy wheel together with this accuracy master to hit 100% hit chance. We will take this entire tree and gain the arrows gain critical second as they travel further. This right here, same as that. When we attack an enemy while on full life, we will pretty much always crit. If you think you already have 100% critical strike chance, we have crit gems in the supports. You can also use that, or use the mastery somewhere else where you think it's better. Early on, spell suppression, we will take this entire wheel, and early on, chances per spell damage is lucky. It is important to hit 100%. Later on, when you have good rolls on your items, you won't need it anymore. Then we use this attack speed, which gives us an additional projectile, and also gives monsters cannot block your attacks. So that's very good, especially against like certain magic and rare monsters which block, and Expedition also does that. We'll be doing Pierce, so that way we'll have more clear, as one cast will hit multiple monsters. Going over here, these two for requirements. Cannot be stunned if you haven't been hit recently for some pretty much stun immunity, but not really. Make sure that you don't get hit that often. Life Wheel, of course, very good. And we'll be using Wind Dancer. Wind Dancer for some extra EHP, as again, we always try to not get hit. And as long as that happens, this adds a good amount of EHP. Very important is Clever Thief. Try to get this as early as possible. It gives this really nice Leech Mastery. It has been nerfed. It's now currently 5% instead of 10%. But even with that, it's so good that you would still take it, right? Life, as I said, this accuracy wheel is very important. We'll go over here, and this is a very old ranger thing that still works. We'll be using Lion's Eyes Fall in this jewel socket, and so anything that is within this radius will convert to bow modifiers. So we can actually take this entire dagger tree, which gives ton of crit strike and critical strike multiplier, and we can actually take the dagger mastery too, because it doesn't specifically specify daggers. It says critical strikes have culling strike, so this gives us 10% culling strike. Going further up here, this mana mastery is important to hit the auras we'll be using, and over here, this is the only lightning attack wheel on this entire side of the tree, and it's important for the lightning mastery, which gives us 40% of physical converted to lightning. It doesn't seem as much, but this is actually a very important mastery, as otherwise we won't have the conversion from physical to lightning, so Voltaxic Rift wouldn't convert all of the damage. Going down here, pretty straightforward. This elemental damage wheel is really nice. Then here another crit wheel, and these two are important to hit pretty much 100%. Otherwise, we won't have 100% spell suppression chance. That is pretty much the three. Let's go over the skill gems. As I said, we're using a Val Lightning Arrow. It's actually a huge amount of damage. So instead of 2120, this is actually like straight up better. It's so much damage, and this build is like a map blasting build, right? So that's what this build does. You won't do any bosses on this. It just straight up maps, nothing else. We do chaos damage, so void manipulation is very good. Volatility, more maximum, less minimum. We be having higher maximum, which is very good. Good damage increase. Crit build, so we of course we will increase critical damage together with increased critical strike to hit 100% critical strike chances, as you can see, and then with damage with attacks for the less damage link. Lightning Arrow Electrocution is the second 6-link, which, since we have a bow and a body armor, so we have 2 6-links and 3 4-links. This is the other damage link we'll be using together with a Ballista Totem, right? So this build, this is really good for bossing, or specifically map bosses. The way this skill jump works, it works like explosive arrow. So it will stick an arrow into the enemy, and the enemy will then be hit by lightning bolts. It also converts fist to lightning, like lightning arrow, so that's very good, which is then also converted to chaos damage. So you can have a total of 10 stages. We can put down 3 ballista totems, so in one attack of all 3 ballista totems you will have 3 stacks, and then so forth and so forth. 3 attacks, attack rate of 3, so we pretty much always hit 10 stages almost immediately. And these are just all of the best damage links. So it's set up 4th link, Mana Forged Arrows with Frenzy and Power Charge. This is how we generate a Frenzy and Power Charges. So as long as you are attacking, you will trigger this, which then uses Frenzy to, which then, because of the crit chance we have, will give us power charges. So which will give us more crit for Lightning Arrow. Here, instead of Wall Blight, which is like additional damage increase, what you can do is you can go for increased critical strike chance. This will put you at 100% crit chance. Normally you would only be at about 80%. So if you don't really care about this War Gem, which does add like a good amount of damage, right? You can go for the increased critical strike chance again and make sure that you hit 100% on the Frenzy to always get power charges. Then lastly, we have our gem setup, Wrath, Haste, and Grace. Wall Haste, again, a huge damage increase. Keep this for like tough rare monsters or bosses, and then Wall Grace adds a good amount of EHP. As we are Ranger, you have inherent evade chance and from our items and the tree. This Enlighten is actually important, if you believe it or not. As you can see when we go over here to the Lightning, we have a ton of mana cost per second. So if you don't have this Enlighten, what would happen? We have such high attack rate that we won't be able to fit the mana cost of our attack rate into a mana pool. So we would actually be losing out on damage if you can hit this mana cost per second. So that is what this Enlighten is for. Lastly, Dash Second Wind. This is pretty easily replaceable. You can use Frostblink. If you want, Withering Stab is also an option as we do chaos damage. Another one is Flame Dash with faster casting. Those are like some extra movement skill options. Instant movement skills specifically are important. And then another custom damage taking setup for some extra defense. With steel skin, this adds about 5k, which is pretty good. Make sure that you hit the exact gem levels of this setup. And then lastly, we'll be using the Despair Curse over Hunter Ring. Let's go over the items. As I said, Voltaxic Rift is the one that enables this entire build. Very important. This item will be pretty cheap. This is a really niche item normally. Most people don't use this item unless like somebody makes like a specific build that gets like 500,000 views or something. It will be pretty cheap, around 100 chaos or maybe 200. Primal Quiver, this is the best base that you can get for this quiver. Very important is the accuracy rating roll. The rest is just extra damage and life. Haunted Basket, make sure that you hit the increased mana reservation efficiency of skills through the essence and the increased mana reservation efficiency in the implicit through the Ichor. And the rest is just life and resistances and some extra defense. Conquest Lamella, we're using an Elder influenced item for specifically the attacks have 1.7% to critical strike chances. Specifically important because it's base critical strike chance, right? So this will pretty much very easily put us at 100% critical strike chance. The rest, the other important role is, of course, the chance to spread spell damage to hit 100%. And later on, even more important for another item we'll be using, but other than that, life. Fixed resistances, Abhorrent Interrogation, already playing for the Wither, and it also adds a good amount of damage and has evasion, which is nice. Wyvern Scare Boots, increased action speed is the best, implicit from Searing Exarch, and then Eater of Worlds, you have a bunch of options, but I think the chance to avoid elemental ailments is the best. Even though it's only 30%, later on you can hit 100% chance to avoid ailments. Other than that, try to get the 12% chance of best damage and then just fix resistances, get as much life and movement speed as possible. Agate Amulet, we specifically need an Agate Amulet for the strength and intelligence, and we'll be allocating sovereignty or anointed, which is all the way over here. Again, we need this for the unreserved mana. Try to get these strength and intelligence rolls for the requirements we have. If we go over here, you can see we do need these requirements for the armor evasion items from strength, and intelligence has 155 from wrath. So that's why we have these requirements. The rest is just extra added damage pretty much. The level 1 of all skill gems though gives a ton, of course. As I said, we'll be using a Hunter Ring for the cursed enemies with Despair on hit. So this is automazing the Despair Curse. Other than that, fixed resistance, get high life roll, and some extra damage for the lightning damage to attacks. For Boss Ring, this right here is actually important. You need an accuracy rating roll. Specifically, that's like 330 or higher, together with the accuracy rating roll on this critter, otherwise you won't be hitting 100% hit chance. Other than that, again, life resistances. Heavy belt, we need specifically a heavy belt for the implicit to hit the attribute requirement, and you can then craft on additional strength however you need it. If you have a low roll here, you can get a better crafted roll here, or maybe you have a specific height here strength roll that is not crafted on that life resistances extra damage. As always, since we're life build, we're using a Divine Flask with instant and remove curse, so kind of like a oh shit button. Very nice. Diamond Flask for the crit chance with increased critical strike chance. Sulfur Flask for freeze immunity, very important. All of these flasks have chance to gain flask charge when you deal a critical strike. So since we always could, we will always have flask charges, so they will be permanently up at all times, as long as we kill monsters or like are attacking basically. Silver Flask for the onslaught, which gives us movement speed and attack speed and immunity to bleed. And then lastly, an Amethyst Flask to kind of fix the chaos max it and give immunity to poison. And then lastly, I already explained Lion's Eye for the Great Dagger and Cutting Strike. That is pretty much the mid-game setup. Let's look how this will be in the early game when you're pretty much doing white maps, pretty much just hit white maps. The HP, of course, of this build isn't that great. as we are ranger, but we have actually a decent amount of his max hit, which is almost like more than double our life. 150,000 is actually not bad at all. The tree is pretty much the same, just remove this damage wheel, go over here. Unless you have Lion's Eye Fall, you obviously don't need this jewel socket, and this power charge can come later. And then you wouldn't need this, of course, because you don't have Lion's Eyes Fall. Other than that, the rest is pretty much the same. What you should firstly go for is Clever Thief. This node is extremely important. Get this one as fast as possible while leveling as well. Other than that, pretty much everything else stays the same. The setup is also the same. The 5-link goes for Lightning Arrow, since it's our main clear ability, and Lightning Arrow of Electrocution then for the extra like rare or boss damage, right? Here, Blink Arrow for some movement if you feel like you need it. If you don't, you can put some whatever else you need in here. Here we have the aura setup. Early on, we won't have enough of the mana reservation rolls to have 3 auras, so we'll be using Wrath and Haste, and then we will self-cast Conductivity. If this slot is open, just if you have a gem that you want in here, use it. We will have about the mana cost. We do have enough mana reach, as you can see, 96 plus the mana cost of this, which is like 30. So we're hitting the mana usage on this unreserved mana. This, again, pretty much stays the same. Use one of the other dash skills like Frostblink, Withering Stab, whatever you want. Flame Dash is good as well. And cast and damage taking setup pretty much stays the same for the early maps as well. 170, 180,000 without the conductivity, which will be self-casting, is like 130,000. Should be enough for mapping early on relatively easily. So let me show the endgame setup. Like most bow builds, this scales actually really nicely. As you can see, we have a ton of damage in the end, and we actually add a bunch of HP too. Specifically, since this is a map blasting build, we go for Headhunter. I think this is the only logical item, as this also adds a ton of strength, which fixes all requirements as well. So the item has an 10 strength roll. Like, if you get an average roll, it's fine, right? As long try to get high strength roll on any of the other items. Saying how much damage this build can do when you're blasting map and getting all the rare modifiers is almost impossible. You know, Headhunter is really, really good. It's also very expensive, but when you're at this stage of the game, this is just the best item to get for some high damage increase for this build. This will also add like all kinds of like EHP and stuff like that. It's hard to quantify, but this is by far the best way to go for this build, as this build is a map blaster. That's what it will do. Progenesis, so we're replacing the Amethyst Flask with Progenesis for the huge EHP that it gives. You pretty much have this always on as long as we're blasting the map, right? And then the biggest damage increase is by far Forbidden Flesh, Forbidden Flame. Watcher's Eye is actually not that good. And what we were specifically getting is Nature's Reprisal. So this gives us chance to inflict Withered for 2 seconds and hit, increase Withered effect. This is very important, as we do not need to use Opponent Interrogation anymore. So this frees up a glove slot, which we can then use assuming Exarch influence item, which gives us rage on attack hit. We are an attack build, both skills attack, lightning arrow attack, so we can gain rage, and the maximum rage is 32 rage on attack hit. We will have always maximum rage stacks, and we can, together with that, we can then use Berserk, which will add a bunch of damage additionally. Together with that, these gloves are actually really nice, as you can add a bunch of chaos resistance, which we used to be missing. The rest of the elemental resistances we can fix on the other items, try to get this really high chaos resistance roll in the attack speed, and added lightning damage or just extra damage. For the Eater of the World, I think with it, you inflict expire slower is the best roll. The rest of the stuff is all caster. Another item that we will be using is Ancestral Vision. What this specifically does is modifies the chance to suppress spell damage, also apply the chance to avoid the elemental ailments at 50% of the value. So very easy. this spell suppression here is basically halved, and it then applies to avoid elements. So let's say you want to hit 70%, because we have 30% from, or ether implicit from the boot, we can then hit 100%. So you need a bunch of good rolls on each of these items, pretty much. Try to hit the 20% or higher on the body armor, and then you can also get a roll on these gloves if you do not have enough, or the boots. Plus, you need this 4 wheel plus this wheel, and that should be enough. And if you still don't have enough, you can take this evasion mastery instead of cannot be stunned 1, and it gives you 50% chance to press spell damage if equipped helmet, body armor, gloves, and boots all have evasion rating. So that should put you at 140% chance spell suppression, which then, together with the boot boot ether implicit, gives you 100%. So we free up some flash space on suffixes. Other than that, what also changes is our body armor hit a hunter slam on it and try to get you can apply additional curse and then a higher lightning res roll together with this ring, which will give us this pay on hit. We freed up some space down here. Since we don't need dash anymore, we have like 120% movement speed. That's like a stupid amount with Tailwind, right? So we'll be going for Sniper Mark on hit. This will add a good amount of damage as well. And it will also give extra projectiles, which then hit any enemies around the mark target. So extra clear. Other than that, the rest of the items pretty much stay the same. Extra resistance rolls, some extra damage. Pretty much the helmet almost entirely stays the same, except high res rolls if you can get it. Extra damage rolls on the quiver. That's pretty much the skill gem setup. Over here, we go to wall lightning. We do keep wall lightning, right? As you can see, it's the highest damage. There's a bunch of awakening gems which we can use here. These will add the highest amount of damage. Don't be baited by awakened elemental focus. We need to shock, right? Without shock, this is nothing. If you want, instead of awakened added lightning damage, you can go for the increased critical strike chance, but you will be losing out on damage. It depends on you if you want to hit 100% chance to crit or have the additional damage from Awakened Added Lightning, which also adds a level to our War Lightning Arrow. Over here, the colors will change as we use some different gems. Also here, Awakened Void Manipulation, Awakened Elemental damage with attacks, Volatility, and Focus Ballista, and then the Vol version of the Auras, which add a good amount of damage on Wall Haste. On Wall Grace adds a good amount of EHP, putting it like 80% evasion. As I said, Berserk because of the gloves, and then Sniper Marks and hit for the extra curse limit. Yeah, that is pretty much the build. I played this build in 3.24 in a different version. Crouching Tuna had a build back then, and that's why I had the idea for making this build. For a long time, Voltaxic Rift was pretty much useless. A few leagues ago, they buffed it and it become actually kind of hidden good. So as you can see, like, this isn't a bad build at all. Rangers are a bit squishy. Is a play style that some people like. I personally do not enjoy evade chance. Would rather have armor. You could like iron if you can get iron reflexes. It's like a different way to get EHP. It would actually add some EHP if you wanna. You can go for that as well. There's some items which also give iron reflexes, but you'd have to remove some damage auras. Like, you could remove this wheel and like maybe go for this if you like remove like 2 more, or like maybe some masteries you don't need, like this one or something else. But right, it's another way to, instead of using evade, you just use the armor, and then you would place the grace with determination as well. That's pretty much the build. I'm done. I have one more thing, but I need to test it out in the league to see if it actually works. So that will probably be the second build that I play. If you like, leave a like, leave a subscribe. See you around.